All right, welcome everyone tonight to tonight's mystery school. Tonight's topic is on healing, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, I like this quote: "Healing is a choice. It's not an easy one because it takes work to turn around your habits. But keep making the choice, and the shift will happen." Very important. A lot of people say, we need to talk about the dark night of the soul, and a lot of these things, that the dark part, and everybody's talking about the light and love. I agree 100%. Healing is hard, and I know when I first really stepped into my journey, there was a lot of things to look at. A lot of things that I particularly did, believed in, that I had to question. I had to, ask myself, is I need to turn these things around. I need to question some of my political views, my religious views, my spiritual views, and open up. And one of the things, just to be honest and open, when I was in college, I thought I was really smart, and I believed love was a chemical imbalance in the brain. And I would go around telling people that. And I honestly believed, as I told people that now, when I look back at it, I was like, I could only even, um, that's how the way I perceive love was the only way I could even take it in. That um, I couldn't actually experience unconditional love because I had no definition for that. I had no openness to that. When my belief was so stuck into the fact of it's only this chemical imbalance in the brain, that's all it is. There's nothing more that it could be. I couldn't experience it anymore. So I really had to change my belief system, open up to unconditional love and different understandings of love to be able to receive that kind of love that I was really looking for in my life. So here's where we're going tonight. We want to talk about the physical healing, mental healing, and emotional healing, and how the combination of all these three really lead to a spiritual healing overall as well. That if you work on the mental part, it's going to lead to spiritual part. If you're going to work on the physical and the emotional part, it's going to lead there too. And even working on the physical can go to the mental, and mental to emotional. All these things are all connected. They're not separate from one another. There are some practices that help the mental part. There are some practices that help that physical part and the emotional part. But seriously, all of them uh, kind of all work on each of them, and definitely all work to go into your spiritual practice and making it more deep for you. So, I want to really stress. So, the physical body, you got to move this thing. You got to clean it out. You got to free your mind, and you have to, I believe we're missing a part, open your heart and be this spiritual being that you are. I mean, that great Buddhist saying that, a great Buddhist saying rather, um, we're not physical beings trying to be spiritual. We're literally spiritual beings that are being physical just for a little bit. We're here just for a little while to experience the physical and all that has to offer. But we are seriously the souls inside this body that are eternal. And each one of our experience as a human, is an experience to learn the physical, and learn lessons, and to gather up information, to learn love. And those things that we learn in that way, we bring with us to the next life. That's why it really isn't as important all the times to gather up money and material items. None of that can go with you. It's the experience, it's love, it's the understanding, it's the lessons, it's the karmic patterns that you break that's really important. And that's the information that you get to bring with you from your soul to experience. So just, obviously we all know at this point probably that the physical body, the things that we eat, it's crucial. If you want to eat a bunch of sugar and candies, you're going to be in this really kind of sloth state where, you're just not catching a lot. You're not really developing. You're just completely absorbed with sugars and candies. And I believe 100% that the most dangerous drug in the world right now is sugar. It's in everything. I've watched documentaries. They talk about this bliss point that these people know. They put an amount of sugar in a food to create this euphoric feeling in you to get you completely addicted. And so the sugar and the amounts of sugar that we're eating now is incredibly higher than just a couple decades ago. We're eating, tens of grams a day, some of us, and we're not realizing how much that sugar is acting like a drug to us, and we're addicts, and we're really having physical withdrawals. We have to continuously get that sugar fix. But it's really important that we get out of it. And I think this is a great little picture because it's talking about the pharmacy, and our pharmacy really should have cucumbers and vegetables and all that kind of things in it, fruits and organics and it's not just the fact that these foods have antibiotics and chemicals and all this crap in it. The plain truth is also that our soil is not as rich as it once was just a few decades ago. We're not crop rotating like we should. So even these foods in general aren't as healthy and nutritious as they once were. So I do think a vitamin supplement for everybody is very important too, just to help with that body and getting that body the right nutrients that it needs. I mean, I don't know if you guys experience this. I'm sure you have. When you eat a bunch of food, sometimes it's not very healthy. You can eat a ton of it, and then an hour later, you're hungry again because your body didn't get what it needed. It needs those vital nutrients, and not just proteins, the fibers and all the stuff that makes the body work properly. Most of us get way more protein than we need. We're all focused on protein all the time, but we definitely need all kinds of other, good sugars from the fruits and fibers and potassium, and all those things are really important. Not just one. We're always focused on protein these days, it seems like. But I love this quote. Hippocrates, he's deemed the father of medicine. Doctors still take a Hippocratic oath due to his name. And he said, and it was 200 BC, he said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food." An incredible quote that literally we don't need these pills made in factories. That if we ate the good fruits and vegetables, the organic, raw fruits and vegetables that are available to us, we'd be living in a more optimum way. Our everything about us would be so much better. Our ability to think and breathe, and one of the things we do is people eat a lot of food with mucus and stuff in it, and you don't realize all the foods that gear toward that create more mucus in the body, which creates more disease. So literally just having a balanced diet with a lot of these raw fruits and vegetables can change our life in a very drastic way. Every bite we take is either fighting disease or feeding it. Are you eating these highly acidic, nasty, chemically induced, antibiotic induced foods? Are we eating really fresh, raw, organic foods that help fight those diseases? This is a great picture to explain that. The health food store got the fruits and vegetables, or the pharmacy, which has got a ton of, what we know now is really highly addictive drugs, opiates, and all kinds of things like that are literally killing people, that they're extremely addicted to. But people think they're okay because a doctor prescribed them to you, not knowing that most of these doctors have, a kickback. They're invested in these companies that they're prescribing. When I was, out of college and I went to a doctor to go get Adderall, they didn't even give me a test or anything. He was just like, "Oh, you're an adult. You want Adderall? Here it is." And they'll just give it to you. And I'm sure he got a kickback just to get it to me. And, you know, and that's just a methamphetamine. I mean, it's just, constantly, you're not in the here and now. You're so juiced up, you can't even really pay attention to anything that's going on. At least I couldn't. Maybe there is some people that can benefit from it a little bit better, but to me, taking those things, it didn't work out. And it wasn't something that I would honestly recommend to anybody else. I really do feel like a lot of things that could help these attention deficit disorders would be really solved by eating, better foods that would be more conducive to a life that you want. So yeah, it's sick care versus health care. Which one will you choose? Which one do you really want? These pills over here are terrible for your liver. They can really inflame the liver, make it really big, overwork, and it's really going to hurt you in the long run for your body to get rid of all the toxins in your body from other things. So, I would really highly recommend, if you're on those medications, see if there are alternatives. At this point now, we know there are foods that can help different kinds of diseases and ailments, and try to see if there's other things that you could maybe switch to get off those things as much as possible. Here we're talking about the mucus again, these milks and dairies and butters. I do enjoy my ghee as much as anyone, but I do try to keep it to a low minimum. And obviously the sugar, the sweets, the chips and the fried foods are really going to make your body really acidic. And as opposed to these foods over here, these fruits and vegetables that are going to really eliminate the mucus in your body. And when we get sick, we know it. It's our body's way of telling us, hey, you're not eating the raw fruits and vegetables that you're supposed to. I'm getting sick, just because you're not putting what you need to in it. I think that's plain and simple. Our body gives us these little subtle hints all the time before you go full fledged into disease, dis-ease. Your body's no longer at ease, it's at dis-ease. And so now you haven't listened to the sicknesses, you haven't listened to the low energy. So here's what we got to do. We got to give you a dis-ease to help you really get that sledgehammer blow from the universe to realize you're not doing what you're supposed to. I know this for a fact for myself. I got an autoimmune disease in college. They couldn't tell me how to get rid of it. They could only give me something to make it tolerable. Made me really tired, and it wasn't worth it. So that really opened up my journey personally to seeking out, different healing modalities, foods, trying to stay away from certain things that I thought would feed it. And eventually, after over a decade, I was able to cure myself of my own autoimmune disease. And this is the real drug war. I think this is the biggest drug war, is not these plants and things like that that are natural, but these pharmaceutical companies that make millions and billions and trillions of dollars off these people who are addicted to these drugs and have to have them, not realizing that there are better ways, there are other things that we can take in order to heal our bodies. And if your food doesn't go bad, it's probably not healthy, because those preservatives and things that they put in it, so something lasts for years, it's not good for us. You know what I mean? The fact that you can put a McDonald's hamburger down and it never deteriorates, it never breaks down, bacteria doesn't even eat it, should tell you right there that this is probably something I should myself not be putting in my own body as well. And I don't know if you guys know Dr. Sebi, but he's passed away now. But and what an incredible doctor, what an incredible man. A society that keeps cures a secret so they can continue to sell medication for huge profits is not a real society, but a huge mental asylum. And I totally agree with them. And I don't know if you know much about him, but I'll just give you a little bit of update. He did have to go to court because he said he could cure diabetes, AIDS, cancer, all these different diseases. They took him to court, and I want to say he brought in 30 to 40 people that he had actually healed with his dietary recommendations for them. He cured people of cancer, diseases, autoimmune diseases, you name it. And they came in. He actually won that. I think he went to the Supreme Court after that, and he won that too. Because they were saying he's false advertising, basically. You can't cure those things, and he actually did. One of the most famous people that he helped cure was Lisa Left Eye Lopez. She was going around telling everybody he helped cure her lupus and all these things, and how great he was, and that her intuition was going through the roof because of that, eating the right things, eliminating things from her diet. And she ended up dead in the airplane. And I don't want to put anything crazy out there, but I can say this, people who put out the truth sometimes don't always make it long lives. So but he definitely did cure a lot of people and was proven in court for doing that. So I think he is a legit guy, and I do follow a lot of his recommendations. For every human illness, there exists a plant which is the cure, and I 100% believe that. I believe that there are, definitely plants and trees out there in the rainforest and other places around the world that can cure things that we're not even aware of yet. But I definitely think the herbs and and all these plants, and we see a lot of plants that actually resemble certain body parts that are actually good for those body parts. It's like nature has given us a huge billboard to say, this is what this is for. It's obvious. Use your intuition. But we have lost our intuition, and we listen to people who got degrees that are sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. And, it's a conflict of interest as far as I'm concerned. But let's start listening to our intuition, start eating the things that we know that we should. Although it may be hard, I believe in the long run, it'd be more than worth it. This is probably one of the most incredible medicines that there is. So go back to Hippocrates, the father of medicine. When he cured people of those diseases 200 BC, the two biggest things that I know that he gave people was apple cider vinegar and raw honey. Apple cider vinegar is good for so many things, whether you take it in pill form or not. I think honestly, probably the liquid here with the mother is probably your best option, raw and unfiltered. Bragg's is a great company, I think, when it comes to apple cider vinegar. It's good for so many things. And what this does is like many other, raw organic fruits, is this, even though this is a very acidic drink, this is going to raise your body pH to an alkaline level. So here is the smoking gun of healing, as far as the physical body goes. When your body is acidic, when you've eaten all these sugars and fried foods, everything, your body's really acidic. That's what creates the sicknesses, the diseases. Um, every single person who has an autoimmune disease, who's sick, who has cancer, has an acidic pH, no doubt about it. So if we raise our body to an alkaline level, then there's no way we're going to get sick. Our body is fully functioning at a high capacity. When your body is alkaline, when you're eating the right foods, you can't get sick. It's not going to happen. You don't have the environment for those things to grow, for those things to thrive. So that to me is a smoking gun. And as far as physical healing goes, getting that pH level up, eating those foods that are going to be raise the body's pH to a high level, and you're going to eliminate the mucus. You're going to eliminate your diseases, your autoimmune diseases, all those kind of things. Again, so the pH for neutral is 7. We learned this in school, but we learned about acidic and basic. They don't really use the word alkaline, but that's what we're talking about. We're raising the body's pH to an alkaline level. Sometimes you see waters with a high alkaline level. I think that's fine. But to me, honestly, the best water you can drink is living spring water. I think that's going to be your best bet. I'm not going to down any alkaline waters. I've definitely drinking them myself before, but I think for me, the living spring water is just where it's at, as far as like getting what you need, the most natural from your environment. Water is essential. Drinking plenty of water. Your body is, 75% water, just like the earth is. If you get below 50%, I believe you pretty much dehydrate and die. So, trying to stay away from the sugary drinks, trying to stay from, certainly, I know some people will be upset, but certainly trying to stay away from coffee. Coffee is very acidic and is going to make your pH very acidic. So we want to try to stay away from those things. I know everybody, so a lot of people like them, but I do think it is an intense drug and is an addictive drug. And just because it's legal on the counter, and you can just go pick it up in the store, you have to be aware that this is a drug just like anything else. And just because it's, legal and right there on the counters, you have to be careful what you put in your body over and over again daily. One of the things that CB said was 3 glasses of water or 4. Why? Because it's electrical. Your body is an electrical system. You have a nervous system with electrical circuits running through the whole thing. You want to increase that electric, ability of the body. That's what's going to heal you. That's what's going to eliminate these diseases and, raise that alkaline pH. So, drink lots of water. It's electrical. It's what your body needs. You want a body that's very electrical. That's almost like your spirituality running through you is having a high electrical system. And don't forget to drink plenty of water because, you're basically a plant. Get plenty of sun. You're basically a house plant with more complicated emotions. Very true. We are, Christ referred to us as trees. We are trees. We have fractal geometry, and our veins, our electrical system, the way our lungs branch out, just like the trees we see out in our front yard. And we are basically tree walking around. Obviously, exercise, huge, right? Getting that heart rate up, moving the blood through your body. Obviously, I don't have to tell you guys much about that. Everybody knows exercise is really good. Here's one that I think we miss out on a lot. Fasting will free up your energy. So instead of digesting food, your body will renew itself. I think one of the best things somebody can do is to fast for 3 days. It definitely resets the whole system. Your body is constantly having to use so much energy to break down the food that you had. So, when we eat a bunch of food, sometimes, a lot of times we get tired and we have to go relax afterwards and we'll fall asleep. Your body's taking a lot of energy to digest that food. So I think it really is very helpful to fast. Maybe do it with water first times, but there are definitely reasons why you hear about these Christ and Buddhas and Krishnas and everybody, and they would fast for 40 days and 40 nights. And it is a spiritual practice in itself to fast and to allow that body to let all these things pass through, to allow energy to go to healing instead of constantly having to digest these really dense foods that we are eating all the time that are really hard for our liver to process. We got to give it a break sometimes. It takes a lot of discipline. Maybe you want to start with a day or a meal or two. But I think, practicing fasting is an absolute spiritual practice that can help with a lot of parts of the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual body that we all are. Yoga is huge, not just for the physical, but also for the mental, for the emotional, for the spiritual. It's all about breathing. It's all about, stretching and being flexible, like a tree that blows in the wind. If you're not flexible, when those challenges come about, when the wind blows hard, those trees break. And we need to be flexible when the challenges arise in our life so that we can flow with them and not be so rigid. And when we become rigid and stiff, we become rigid in our belief system, become rigid in our ideas. And we need to be flexible, learning to see both sides of the situation. I'll give you a quick little, glance into my life. When I first started doing yoga many years ago, I did a back bend, and probably one of my first classes, and did the back bend. I bent backwards, and I had this euphoric release of what seemed to be grudges, that I kept grudges against people, and that it had manifested as pain in my back. And so when I did a back bend one day, it just like released this euphoric, and I knew instantly that I had carried grudges in my life, and they had manifested as physical ailment to my body. And so I realized, like, wow, like I can't believe that something that I would do that I would consider mental have a physical and probably even emotional and even a spiritual effect on who I was. So I can't stress enough how much being flexible, just stretching every day is really vital to having a really healthy body as well, and helping with that breathing, because you have to really slow down and breathe. And the breath is so important. Keep calm, breathe deeply, because when your body is constantly in those shallow states of breath, when we're in fear mode, when we don't have enough, when we're worried about the economy, worried about our car breaking down, whatever it is, you're constantly in that fear-based mode, and you're just breathing very shallow, very quickly. You're not getting enough oxygen to the brain to make good decisions. And for that frontal lobe to really turn on and click on them. And, it's kind of like when you're mad and upset and you're yelling at people, you get into a fight, maybe it's hours later, maybe it's days later, but when you finally calm down and start to, relax and realize, man, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have thrown that punch. Your frontal amygdala and your frontal lobe has turned on and made you realize that's that higher form of thinking that we have as humans. And it's come on and it's helped you realize, man, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't who I am. That was my ego talking. That was reaction. I was reacting to things I didn't like. So it really is important to stay calm all the time, to really take deep breaths when things are going on, so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. And really knowing that, deep down, how we believe we're going to heal is how we're going to heal. Whatever modality we choose, the placebo effect guarantees whatever we believe is going to happen. So, our thoughts are very powerful. So, if you believe going to this doctor is going to be better for you than going to a holistic place, it probably will. It's so important to realize that whatever we believe is the best for us, it tends to be that way. There's also that really famous quote: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can't do this, you're not going to be able to do it. If you think you can, it's possible. You're probably going to be able to do it with enough intention and enough will. Our thoughts are very powerful, and they breathe things into existence. And we need to begin to absorb this. Is very important to realize, as we think, so shall it be, as what we ask for. And we're not just asking by words, we're asking by our emotions, we're asking by our thoughts and our feelings. And if you think you're not good enough for a certain person or a certain job, you're not going to be. You're not on the vibration of that. You need to really realize, I'm worthy. I'm a beautiful person. I'm very smart. A job would be lucky to have me. Another human being would lucky to be in a relationship with me. I've done my work. Those things, bring our vibration up and put us on par with the things that we want. Not just wanting them, but knowing that we are on that vibration is very powerful, instead of, thinking that we're not good enough. So another way to get there, again, to believing that we're all those things, to knowing who we really are is meditation. I can't stress it enough. And I know this is a hard thing sometimes for many people. And it's not something you have to get in there and you have to be Buddha on day one. You're going to get in there, you're going to meditate. Sometimes just laying on your bed in your room can be helpful, and turning the lights off and turning the electronics off and giving yourself 20 minutes in there. Sitting down, back straight, all those things are great. Giving yourself that time every single day to just relax and just calm down. And, I think one of the first, I'm a psychologist, so I'm really into science, but I'm also into the metaphysical. So I'd heard that Albert Einstein came up with this whole theory of relativity just by imagining riding a wave of light. So I wanted to, for myself, combine that with meditation. And I was like, well, I want to do the same thing and see if anything happens for me. And I honestly just turned all the lights off, was laying in my bed, my first kind of meditating that I was doing. I had some tones in the back that I was listening to, and I just imagined myself riding a wave of light, letting go of myself being Jacob Cox, a male, white, being from a small town, everything that the labels that I had grown to know, that's who I was. And I just allowed those things to kind of dissolve and just be a wave of light riding the universe. And sure enough, I had many epiphanies and revelations, aha, or eureka moments just flood in all of a sudden in a split second. I knew certain things. And I really do believe in Matthew, it says, those who sat in darkness saw great lights. And to me, that's what I was doing. I was sitting in darkness and I was receiving great insight, great light. And I think that's exactly what that Bible verse was saying. And it made sense to me at that point. Because when you go within yourself, you find yourself, who you really are. Be still and know that I am God, right? Have you ever been so still that you knew that you were God, right? You have to be still to know that. You have to let go of the labels, let go of all the things people told you that you were, and just be here in this moment and realize at the end of the day, if I really let go of all the gender and identity and all the things that everyone has told me my whole life that I was, and just be here now, and I'm connected with everything that it is, there's nothing that I'm not. We had the talk, like, was it last week, the revelation of I am that I am. God's all the that's that there is. If God's all the that's that there is, you're a part of that. You and me and everything that is here. Every experience, the wind, the water, every person, every planet, we're all that. So just realizing, going within, find yourself, sit with yourself. How important is it just to be able to sit with yourself and like yourself? Man, it's so hard for so many people just to take a little time out every single day. And as you do it, it gets easier and easier. But don't beat yourself up because certain thoughts came in or you got distracted. Let it go and keep just going deep and just concentrating on that breathing, taking deep breaths over and over again and concentrating on that and letting go of all the things. I don't think personally enlightenment is about gaining anything. It's not about gaining peace or gaining information necessarily. I think a lot of it is just about letting go of all the things that we've been taught, letting go of the labels, and just being here now and being, in this moment. And then whatever happens when you get there, will change your life. But, it's not about becoming Buddha or Jesus in a moment. Let go of your expectations. And, it's a practice, just like everything else, like yoga is a practice. And when people do meditate and they hook their brains up to EKGs and they measure the fields of energy around them, there's definite, obvious, scientific, provable outcomes, right? When a monk or something does meditation and they look at his brain patterns when he's doing it, many of the times these guys are as active or more active than when they're sleeping. That shouldn't be possible. The most active that we see the brain typically is during sleep. So the fact that there's people who are awake and having the same brain functions as REM sleep is incredible. That means they're using so much of their brain in waking state. So this is a provable subject, that meditation and just remaining calm and breathing literally turns on your brain and turns on your energy fields and lights you up in a way that not many other things can. And so here, I think we're moving to a concept, the yin and the yang, the light and the dark, positive and negative, male and female, day and night, active and passive. There is this duality in us. So when I was talking about earlier, the dark night of the soul, and I believe in that, right? I believe that we have to see that the dark is the light is the dark. They give birth to each other. I believe in the center of our galaxy is a black hole, and I believe in the center of every single human is the void, is a black hole from which we all come from and which we all shall return to. And we do this over and over again. But don't see it as duality. See it as oneness. See it as we couldn't have light on this planet all day long. All the plants and everything would die. We can't have darkness all day. Everything would die. You have to have the balance of light and dark. It's permeating through the entire universe. It's just duality, and see it as a wholeness, right? So for me personally, I was a bartender in Atlanta for a long time before I left to come to Colorado, and I honestly feel like I mastered the darkness first. I mastered what was fake, what wasn't real. That dark night of the soul. For me, it was imperative to become who I wanted to be, to realize like the things that I was doing was fake and it wasn't really something feeding my soul, and that I could no longer hide behind a bar. I had to go, move to Colorado to work with kids and to know that was going to change my life. And I just followed my heart, and it all turned out way better than I could possibly imagine. I can't believe that I hid for so long behind a bar back there. But that darkness gave birth to an incredible being. When you plant a little tiny seed into the ground, it's immersed in darkness before it blooms out of the ground. It's absolutely necessary. It's not something to shy away from. I think a lot of times, people say, well, the darkness is something evil, it's something bad. I think that's a perspective, but I think ultimately it can help you grow in a great way. The light can help you grow in a great way. All these things are catalysts and contrasts for, what do I want in my life and what do I don't? What can I gain from this experience, and how can I grow from what is? Because at the end of the day, I think everything is isness, and we get to do whatever we want. Meaning, we can make meaning out of it or not. But certainly, I wouldn't look at the darkness as bad and the light as good. They're all needed, and it's all oneness. This picture represents ayahuasca. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but a drink made in South America by the bark of a vine and the leaves of another plant mixed together in water, heated up for hours to extract DMT, dimethyltryptamine, orally. This is another thing, I think, just like mushrooms or magic mushrooms or iboga or different plant medicines, as they're called, which I 100% agree with. But I think, a great deal of work is usually needed to be done oftentimes before we get to these places. I personally have never had like a bad trip. I've definitely done ayahuasca and mushrooms and things like that, but I had never had a bad trip. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think it's, again, something that you can learn from. But if you haven't done your work, if you haven't been, working on spiritual practice, you haven't been working on that mental and physical and emotional body, you could have what people call a bad trip. And it's I think really ultimately it's showing you what's inside of you. That's what those plant medicines do. They really show you what's there, put it right there in front of your face so you can do something about it. So you want to, you really want to dive in and say, hey, I want to change who I am. I want to be the best person that I can be. And these things can help you do that, help you grow in a way. But I definitely think a lot of growing, a lot of work is done a lot of times before we do these things. And that's not something I would recommend to everyone, but it's definitely something, if you've done it, I think it can definitely be beneficial. Another practice that I feel like most people don't know about, and I'm probably going to really murder this word, and I do my best, Ho'oponopono, to make right. The ancient Hawaiian practice has been used by the Kahuna mystic healers for centuries. And so this basically is what I understand it as a healer went to kind of like a psych ward, and he got people's names that were literally in there. And he said these prayers and he repeated these prayers over to these people and without even meeting them. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, Anne. I love you. And he would work on one person. And after he would do these prayers with people, these people would literally be able to walk out of that facility, never have met them, or talked to them, or touched them, or anything. I use these for myself for different things, and I've used these words, and I'll say, "I'm sorry," and I really dwell on, we all have etherical cords connected to people. So you have some kind of problem with somebody, even if you guys aren't in the same city or state, you have this attachment towards each other, and you kind of have to like snip it and let it go. But I think a great way with, you don't even have to talk to these people. Literally telling you I'm sorry. What are you sorry for? Explaining it, feeling it, really immersing yourself in sorriness, right? For the harm that you've done them. And then literally asking them, please forgive me for these things, because I didn't mean it, because I truly am sorry. I want to heal this thing. And I would practice these things, really feeling that feeling along with the words that I was saying out loud in the practice. And then thanking them. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the lessons. Thank you for the journey and meeting and the bonds that we've shared. And then really expressing love to them. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm really grateful that our time that we had. When I've done these successfully with people, I felt these attachments be completely released and healing take place, and just incredible. Then these people sometimes call me afterwards, or just, certain feelings of, I no longer have to deal with that anymore. It's gone. It's over with. I've healed it. I've moved on, and it just didn't affect me anymore. And so this really was a practice that changed my life. So it's just another thing that I'm showing, hopefully, that most people maybe not be familiar with. That is a great practice in the healing of our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional body. Another one that's really helpful too is just the solfeggio frequencies. This was definitely one that I was listening to when I told you earlier that I was listening to tones while I meditated on the Albert Einstein wave thing. And I was listening to these waves. I've listened to that 528 repairing DNA for countless hours, and all of them for countless hours, really focusing on things that each one says that they're for. And I 100% believe these things work. It's just an incredible tool. A lot of these tones are in churches and cathedrals and stuff when they play music that makes people feel good. They're the same hertz that are being played. So if you don't know much about it, check it out. It could definitely be helpful in your meditations as you sleep, or just, take a 30-minute nap playing them. It's absolutely life-changing. Because, at the end of the day, what are we trying to realize here? We're all trying to realize how powerful we are, who we really are. And one of maybe the greatest gift that I can do is help you and anybody else see past the illusion of separateness, past the illusion of you're not worthy enough, and recognize, honestly, at the end of the day, each one of us truly are divine. And to help you know that is imperative for me, because if we live in a world where everyone knows this, how much better is it to go to the grocery store, to drive down the road, to visit people, to have friends that are awake and aware and understanding of their divinity, and see every human and every moment as sacred, as opposed to people yelling at each other and being angry at each other online, and road rage and all these things, and realizing when I'm yelling at someone else, I'm yelling at myself. When I'm hurting other people, I'm hurting me. When I'm helping others, I'm helping myself. When I'm loving others, I'm loving myself. So that's why I do this, and that's why I think it's imperative. I want to awaken the world as much as possible. And I think ultimately I didn't do that. I didn't try to wake up for myself, for others at first. It was for myself. But when you reach a level of certain awareness and you realize that everyone is you, it just seems like that's the mission that why we came here on this planet, is literally to help awaken our brothers and sisters. And one of the ways I feel like that we can make this life sacred, as it really is prayer, is to, make prayer essential in our daily lives, to pray over food, to pray over people, and not necessarily the praying that we have come to know as asking for things that we don't have, but simply, honestly, sometimes recognizing and being grateful for the things that we do. And one of the greatest prayers that I kind of recently got into was an example of what Greg Braden shared. He said when he went to go pray with a Native American one time, and they were having a huge drought. It hadn't rained in a long time, and they needed some rain. So the guy went out there to go pray, and he went out there to pray with them. And he literally described his prayer as going outside and being sacred with oneness, and smelling the smells that rain would give off when it rains, to feel the mud between his toes, to feel the water fall on his skin, to feel that cool air come in and that smell of rain when it starts to rain, and believing that it was already here right now in this moment, not asking for it as that if it's not, but knowing that it's already here. We are all creators. We can create anything. We can make it rain. We can create abundance. We can create anything in this life that you want. And knowing that we're divine, knowing that we have this incredible, powerful ability within us, and start to use it again. Certainly, a few people definitely want us to be disempowered, want us to be programmed to believe that we're not good enough. A few people actually, benefit from that, but it will benefit us and the whole world for us to know our divinity, excuse me, and dwell within it. And when we heal ourselves, that is when we're able, when we've done the work, when you have healed yourself of the diseases, when you've healed yourself of, that of lack, of all the things that hold you back, I think that's when we really are able to heal others. Everybody can do it. Everybody has the gift. I've had a very similar experience to this exact photo, where I was, I went to go get a healing from a metaphysical place, and they were doing hands-on healing. I just went for myself. Upon my first healing and sat down, I heard the voice inside my head say, "Now it's your turn." And he just kept saying it. And I knew that meant I was supposed to get up there, but I was like, I don't have a degree. I don't have a certificate. I've never practiced these things. But, I think about that. I am that when Moses was talking to the burning bush, he didn't have those things either. But there's a calling that happens. When the universe calls to you, when God calls to you and says, it's your time, it doesn't matter if you have a certificate or, an education for it. Each one of us is called by the universe in a divine way. That's all you need to know and have that confidence in. There's a reason that you were called. There's a reason that you're a vessel that heard that calling. And it's time for you to get up and do that. And what an incredible feeling. And I know for a fact that's only one of many that I've had. But I know once we get in there, every single person can have those same callings. Every single person is definitely divine and can have the same kinds of experiences that I know that I've had and I've talked to many others about. And so I really push this on people because I want so many people to listen to the call. Don't worry about what you have or how much money you got or what business. Just start doing the things that you love. Go and listen to intuition. Whatever it says, do it. What excites you, go out there and do it. You'll have the experience that goes with it. And when we heal ourselves, we heal the next generation that follows. Pain is passed through the family line until someone is brave enough and ready enough to feel it, heal it, and let it go. Man, that's so important to realize that our whole family lineage is really on our shoulders right now. All these ideas of not being good enough and not being great enough, and we're not worthy of a great job, we're not worthy of a great relationship, has all been passed down by so many people. Not that it was their fault, but that's what they were told, and that's the programs they were given. They pass it on down to us, more than just our color of our eyes and the color of our skin, our emotions, our mental states, or all those things pass through us, and all these lessons. And so when you finally take a stand and say, not me, not anymore, I'm not going to do this to my kid, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to allow them to be themselves, I'm going to allow them to have their own spiritual journey, their own spiritual practice, and give them the truth, and not tell them to go be Christians, to be atheists, whatever. Let them have their own experiences. Tell them, hey man, you are as much as anybody else are entitled to have your own experience, to go out there and find it. I have a daughter, and I definitely will let her know, I can give her what I've learned and things that I've experienced, but at the end of the day, you got to have your own journey, you have your own experience. And I think when we do these things, when we break these cycles, and we become more like the universe, more like this unconditional free will zone that the universe is, and we start to give others free will and others unconditional love, and love them no matter who they are, where they're at on this journey, what they've done, and just love them for them being here now, our whole life can change, and we can create love and a world that works for people. And we'll find the others who are on the same frequency as this, and create life that don't have to learn these lessons. They'll know many of these things that we figured out. We don't have to teach them as much anymore. You know, a lot of the things I feel like that we um, that is happening to us as humans is, you know, there are barriers and there are walls that we create, and we pass those barriers and walls on to our children. And so if we don't have those barriers anymore, we don't have these walls that keep us from this alignment, these belief systems, these ideas, and these political systems that keep us from our own enlightenment, you know, it's game over. These kids, they come in and they don't need that. They don't need the programming. They don't, they're past it. And so we can create, you know, families and children, and not just giving birth to children, but like the work that you do in this life now affects your family, affects your brother, affects your sister. You don't have to tell them, you don't have to convince them anything or teach them anything. You being you, truly being who you are and in your own power, will create, you know, something for them to see visually and to feel and to realize, wow, what have you done? How are you so different? And they'll want to talk to you. They'll want to ask you questions. One of the things that happened to me definitely was trying to explain things and experiences, and I couldn't explain an experience that somebody else hadn't had the same similar thing. It wasn't in their vocabulary. It wasn't in, you know, it wasn't in their experience. So how could they understand that? But I definitely could be me, and I definitely could be real and be honest and be, you know, the person that I, you know, look up to. And if you're that, you're going to be that for them too. Eventually, it's gonna. I've definitely said things now to my parents that, you know, they may not have liked at the beginning, but they've come to know is, wow, it was the truth, you know, that when they said that. And so, you know, we can change the world, was what I'm trying to say, by being who we truly are. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. That is so imperative, I think, to realizing like our power is within us. We don't need a president or a politician to pass a law to make something better. Each one of us, being that little drop in the universe, reverberates and resonates out that love and beauty and rawness and realness just as much as anybody ever has, or anybody ever will. So it is so important to realize your journey is so important. Who you are, the things that you do, what you resonate out, what you're focused on right now is so important to change the world. And one of my favorite quotes is from Mother Teresa. It says, "If you want to create world peace, just go home and love your family." And I thought about that over and over again. For so long, I couldn't sit down with my family and eat a meal without arguing about politics or whatever. And I realized it wasn't worth it. That war wasn't worth it. How many millions, maybe billions of people around the world can't sit down with their own family members, with their moms and dads, because their views are different? How crazy is that? How that's a war in itself for millions of people, maybe billions of people daily, who can't even talk to their family members because they have different views. Why not let peace be the way? And no matter what, I haven't met anybody who thinks the same way I think about everything. But I know this, I know that I can be peaceful no matter what. I know that I can always honor their beliefs no matter what and let them believe whatever they want to no matter what. That creates a peace, that creates a harmony between people, recognizing and honoring them for whatever they believe in. That resonates out and just changes everything. So I think this is the way for us to exit the matrix of, you know, this world, this holographic reality that seems to be created in a way that kind of works off fear. That we're all in fear mode. We're all in fight or flight survival mode, and get into a mode where, you know we're loved. We know that there's plenty out there that you know we can always be at the right place at the right time. We can literally change our reality by what we think and how we feel about it. And so I think this is, you know, really is a way to exit the matrix as Neo did, become masters of the universe, masters of our own lives. And you know, really honestly, the only world you're ever going to experience is the one you're experiencing. You know, there's no reason to believe that, you know, the whole world's going to change for everybody at the same time. You know, really it's going to change for everybody individually. So thank you guys for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. You know, healing is an incredible journey, and I know I have personally have a long way to go in it, and I'm so excited that I've experienced so much, and you know, I want to share so much with so many people. And you know, it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm very thankful for it. So thank you guys for joining us for tonight.